Hello, I am Ryan, a developer advocate here at GrowthBook, and I'm excited to introduce Michael.
Hey everybody, I'm a software engineer here at GrowthBook.
And today we're going to show you a new feature that's just come to GrowthBook. It's super exciting. It's called SQL Explorer, and it came out of a problem we were having internally where we wanted to run a simple query within GrowthBook to find some kind of data for an experiment, but we would have to jump over to another tool and run a query there, get that data, and then come back to GrowthBook. And we thought, how hard can it be just to build a little bit of a SQL Explorer right into GrowthBook? So Michael was one of the engineers who built this, and he's going to give us a tour of the feature today and tell us a little bit about how you can use it.
Yeah, absolutely. A while back, we introduced a schema browser tool, and alongside of that, we've had a query editor for quite a while. But before the SQL Explorer, there were limited inputs to where you could access this when you were creating a metric or something like that. But there were a lot of restrictions when building a metric. We require specific columns, and we only returned a few columns. So with that base, we thought we could expand the functionality of this and save a lot of the context switching that we found that we were running into whenever we were running experiments or building feature flags.
Nice. Let's get into it.
Awesome.
So Michael's going to share his screen and give us a firsthand tour of the SQL Explorer.
Yeah, so the SQL Explorer allows you from a number of different places in GrowthBook to access a data source and see the associated schema browser. And that allows you to see what columns are available, what tables are available, the data types for a particular table. And you can run and save these queries if you need to access them frequently. I have one saved query here where I'll go ahead and open the Query Explorer, where we have a connected data source. It's a Google Analytics data source, and we're tracking page views. And so this is something that this is sample data, but this is something that we could reference often. And the really cool thing about it is we've introduced a visualization builder alongside of it. So you can build simple charts and graphs to build off of the query results. And whenever you do build a query, there's a dedicated query ID page that you can use to share with other people in your organization. It's very easy if you need to refresh the data if it's getting stale. And it just makes for overall a much more seamless experience. You've already built out data sources within GrowthBook. So the idea that you would have to leave GrowthBook, go query the data from another platform, while not a crazy delay, it was an unnecessary context switch.
Cool. So let's take a step back. And so someone wants to use this for the first time. Where would they go in GrowthBook? And then maybe you can show like how they would write a simple query.
Absolutely. So the main entry point is under the Metrics and Data tab. You can click on the SQL Explorer, and then you'll have an empty state here, but you can come in, and this is where you can build the query. And so here in the data source, you can see we have one schema with a couple of different tables. And so in the SQL editor, you can say, I want event date, I want the event name, and let's see, maybe the user sudo ID. And then I want to get it from the events table. And one of the lesser known features about the schema browser is you can double click on a table and it will automatically populate.
I had no idea.
The full string.
Yeah. That's sick. That's cool.
And then you can just simply run the query. Oh, did I spell user sudo?
I think you have an S on users.
And then you can come in here and just give it a name and you can save it. And if you want to then build a visualization, you can. I don't think the sample query that I wrote lends itself very well to a visualization, but you can build a visualization. And currently, the visualizations will live on the saved query page, but eventually we'll start integrating these visualizations in other areas in the app to enrich the experience even more.
That's very cool. I know for myself with my data table, so I usually have a big events table with all the different kinds of events, but I always want to know, well, what are the different events that are in there, so I can set up metrics or whatever. And so this would be a really nice way to kind of see what all those different metrics are, right? Or what all those different events are.
I was just going to say, oftentimes, especially as an engineer, I'm not in our data day in, day out. So like you said, I oftentimes don't know exactly what events exist or exactly what columns exist. So this is a nice tool to just quickly go explore a data source that you've already done the hard work of connecting, and then it can just makes the experience a lot more seamless.
That's very cool. In terms of the visualizations, what options are available?
That's a great question. Currently, we support bar, line, area, and scatter graphs, but if you do have needs for additionals, just let us know.
Yeah, that's very cool. So just to kind of give a summary of what you've shown us, the SQL Explorer, one is just great for looking at your schema, for finding out the schema of your data. But then also if you want to kind of deep dive that or figure out a little bit more about the actual values that are in that data, that's where you can write the SQL. And if we're not kind of experts at SQL like you or some else, AI, LLMs are really good at helping you figure out SQL queries. So you could take that and then put it in here and run it as well. And then finally, if you get some kind of interesting data that you want to surface, you can run a visualization on it.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else, any other features that you want to highlight about the SQL Explorer?
I think the only other feature is, given that each query has its own page, it's very easy to share with others in your organization, so that if you do find a query that you run to be helpful, it's very easy to share and assimilate that with others.
So you can take just the URL and share that URL with other people in your org? Correct. That's very cool. At the very bottom, then, can you scroll down again? Just so you have, these are the results, obviously, and then there's also a SQL tab.
Yes.
And that shows the filled out query. And then if you go back to results, there's also the ability to download this as a CSV if you want to do some further analysis in Sheets or Excel or something.
For sure. And you can also see the amount of time that the query took. If there's an error, the errors will show here, and it'll be a very similar error if you were using any other query builder. And all these results are paginated. I think in this case, I'm only returning 8 rows, but we do paginate the results as well.
All right. That's awesome. That's so cool. So that is the SQL Explorer. I know that internally we're already using it daily. I'd be excited to hear how you might use the SQL Explorer. So leave a comment or let us know. If you have any questions about it, feel free to reach out. We will see you soon in the next video.